All right, there we go. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to today's training on how to streamline your nutrition business and make more money in less time with Practice Better. So I'm your host today, Grayson Carter, and I'm joined by Nathalie Garcia, co-founder of Practice Better. How are you doing today, Nathalie?
I'm awesome. Hi, Grayson. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm excited to see what we can do and how we can help some practitioners run their business better today.
I love it. I'm stoked.
Awesome. So maybe to get us kicked off, if you can just give us a sense of like who you are and maybe what brought you to working with health practitioners and a little bit about your software.
Yeah, absolutely. So as Grayson mentioned, so I'm the co-founder of Practice Better. Before founding Practice Better, I was actually a holistic nutritionist. So I was very much in your shoes. I was a bit naive at the time. I thought, okay, I go through my training and then turn the lights on, turn the sign over, and everyone was going to come in. And I realized really quickly that that wasn't the case and that I had to wear many hats and I had to run a business, which I was not prepared for. So, figuring out how to do the marketing, which Grayson's helping with, and, what goes into running a business, I also had to be the admin person. I had to be the accountant. I had to be like the marketing expert. I had to wear so many hats. So what I was finding was I was essentially working for free. And I don't know who here can relate. I'm sure more than we want to admit, but that's a very real, it's a very real scenario that a lot of people find themselves in when you're working in the health and wellness field, that you are working for almost nothing because you have to do so much and you're spreading yourself so thin. So when I started seeing clients, I was realizing that even just the admin side, that side alone, okay, great, you get the people in, but then what do you do with them once they're in? So scheduling, taking their payments, sending them their forms, following up with them, the time it took me to write recommendations or protocols for them, it was so time consuming that I was like, this is either going to be a really expensive part-time job or, I'm just gonna have to throw in the towel and do something else. So we took a look at what was out there, and what was out there really wasn't suited for nutrition-based professionals. It was really for like medical doctors with big, deep pockets, which I did not have. So we started kind of dreaming up what a platform would look like for me and for my small community here in Toronto. And somehow we got here. We started building it, and then people outside of this small community started learning about it, and we kept adding on to it, and the platform just evolved from there. We weren't quite prepared for the number of practitioners who were dealing with the same issues. We didn't realize that it was as widespread as it really was.
Absolutely. No, some of the issues that you were talking about, I feel like they are a recurring theme for especially people getting into practice. It's kind of they assume like, oh, I'll open my doors and I'll spend 40 hours a week seeing patients and the rest will just kind of be an afterthought. And
right.
Unfortunately, it seems like it almost ends up being the exact opposite. Like you end up being an admin person first and a practitioner second. And it's like, that's not the reason anybody got into the business in the first place.
Exactly. And so streamlining, I think regardless of what area of business you're in, streamlining is always the goal. You want to streamline, or even better yet, automate as much as possible. It's fantastic for you in terms of a business decision, but we also have to think about, what we like to think about too, is what's your client experience like? Because if they're getting things at an inconsistent rate, so you see them today and maybe they get their recommendations 4 days from now or 6 days from now, there's no consistency for them. So they don't know really, they don't know what to expect. So that's one of the pieces. But the other thing is clients are coming to us because they have to, they've tried everything and they've had enough, and now they're coming to you for the solution. And you want to make it so that there are no barriers or very low barriers for them to work with you. So, something as simple as putting a scheduling calendar on your website. So if they want to work with you, it's 2:00 in the morning and they say, I had my aha moment and I just have to work with you. They can go and do that. They don't have to wait for an email 2 days later or go back and forth 6 times just to book one appointment. Or they don't have to wait, for you to send the forms out, let's say 1 day before, and they didn't have time to fill it out, and now they give you incomplete responses, and that affects how then you get to work with these people. There's so many things that streamlining your practice will do that will benefit yourself, but also your clients.
Sounds awesome. I'm sold. Sign me up. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate the intro, Nathalie. What I'd love to do is let's have the rubber hit the road. So if we can, I'd love to talk through some of the challenges and some of the more specific stuff when it comes to streamlining. So if you wouldn't mind walking us through some of the things that Practice Better has to offer, I think that'd be a great way to make the most of our time.
Yeah, absolutely. So from Practice Better, you're going to be able to manage a lot of things. One being your calendar, your schedule. So whether you're having clients book directly from your website or you're doing scheduling yourself, both of those can happen within Practice Better. So you can have a calendar that not only allows clients to book, but then they can also pay upfront. Because I know some of these money conversations are not always easy to have. So you can put your price onto your service. You can actually require them to pay upfront. That also gets the client to have allows them to have a bit more skin in the game, so that they show up, they're committed. You get these clients who are coming to work with you because they're ready. You can even just require a deposit, require billing information instead of actually collecting payment, or you can even allow them to break that payment up into installments. So all of these things can be done without you having to do a thing. They're just automatic, they're built into your service. The other thing is sometimes you want to collect information, right? Maybe if you're doing something like a free discovery call, maybe you have some qualifying questions that you want to ask your clients about what their goals are, why they want to work with you, to kind of get an idea as to what you're walking into when you do that call with them. So you can add those questions onto your booking process by adding a short form that collects that information. So again, that's one less thing you have to do. You don't have to send that form out to your client. It's just built into their booking process. So that's the scheduling side of things. Of course, reminders go out automatically. Payment can be taken through Stripe or Square, who we connect with directly or integrate with directly. Your forms, so I touched on that with the scheduling process, but you can do intake forms, and we know that forms can get complicated, right? Because the questions we're asking are complicated. Sometimes we don't want to overwhelm clients with 100 questions if only 10 of them pertain to that client. So we have things like conditional flows built into the form, so that way if the client says, yes, I have this condition, then we can present them with the subset of questions that go along with that. So we're not overwhelming the clients that don't need to be seeing these questions with questions that just don't pertain to them. Or again, if you say, I'm male, show all of these questions. Or if I'm female, show all of these questions, right? So the forms, we also allow you to automate them. So you're just thinking about a form, we think, oh, it's not that much work to send out a form. But it is, because again, that consistency, when are you sending out the form? Are you sending it out in enough time that your client can fill out the form completely and honestly without feeling rushed or, and then you can take notes on the form. So that's the other piece, is take notes so you don't lose that functionality. I'm a person, I love to write on paper. My writing is chicken scratch. So having the ability to actually type notes on the forms, which I'll show you later, it allows you to follow up and be engaged with your clients when you're going through these forms that they spent all this time completing. They say, sometimes they forget something, so you can add that in as a private note, or even import that information right into their client file, right? So you don't have to copy paste what they tell you into yet another area. So
awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So I feel like there's a lot there. So I don't want to skip over too quickly, because I feel like those are like we can spend a lot of time doing that, right? Like even like one form doesn't seem like that big a deal, but if you're seeing 20 patients a week, that one form now becomes like a part-time job. And then making sure you get it back and being able to like track all that stuff. So
right. And you might have different forms for different services, right? So, I don't know about anyone else, but I used to have my calendar was filled with reminders to process payment installments, to send forms, to check in with someone, to send them a reminder email. So now automating that. So if you have, your intake, your initial consultation, maybe you send out these 3 forms automatically when they book that appointment. Maybe you send out another form 2 days before their follow-up sessions or a day after. All of it can be automated. And as you're mentioning, Grayson, like if you have 20 clients in a week and you're sending this out for 20 clients at different intervals, it's a lot. But also if you're starting out and you have one client, you don't want to be spending 3 hours of work for 1 hour of pay, right? You'd rather spend those 2 other hours, go and find your next clients, right? So there's just anything and everything you can automate or streamline is what's going to help you move your business forward.
Awesome. So what I'd love to do, if you're open to it, is if we could actually walk through and take a look at some of these features, like what they actually look like inside of Practice Better. Because I think a lot of what like stops people from using technology that would be really beneficial is it's a little intimidating, especially if you're not quite sure what to look at.
Right.
Or to even know what's possible. So I'd love to see if there's things you can show us inside of Practice Better, like how easy it can be to send those forms, or just to give us a feel of what it looks like.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Let me share my screen with you here.
Sure.
Perfect. All right. So we're just going to there's a lot to the platform. So the really important thing to keep in mind when we're looking at it together is that regardless of where you are, start with what makes more sense to you and what's going to save you the most amount of time. And you can build on as you get more comfortable, automating more. Because I know sometimes people feel uncomfortable giving up that control. So start little and then add on to it from there. So what we're looking at right now is the practitioner portal. So this is where you're going to do all the heavy lifting. This is where you're going to set up your practice. Clients have their own portal, and we can take a look at that quickly at the end, where they can log in. They can see everything that you're sharing with them. They can log in to do their video conferencing calls, so telehealth sessions, and they can see everything that you've shared with them. So just showing you in this list, and we won't go through all of these things, but we talked about setting up services. I just want to show you what this looks like to a client. We won't walk through setting up a service, but if we just look at what it looks like to a client who's booking a service, right? You can show your clients what they're getting for this service. This can be put right onto your website in a format like this, or even a widget, right? They can book with you, and if you're working on multiple locations, they can choose what location that they want to see you from, right? So if you're working, I think this is a pretty common thing where you work out of multiple locations. So now you can manage all of those locations from one place. Your clients will come in and then basically register, right? So let's say Mary Smith. And this here is a disclaimer that I included here. So if you wanted to get a signature for a client up front before they even walk in the door, they can, oops, I can't even spell Smith. And then they're just going to sign their name, right? So all forms, this is just one short example of a form, but all forms can be filled out online or signed online, right? They don't have to download anything, print it out, fill it out, scan it back to you. Like, those days are gone. And then if you required payment, they would be prompted to pay here. So they can, I gave the option to pay later because I didn't feel like charging myself $250. But they would be prompted to pay here, in which case if it was required that they pay, they wouldn't be able to complete their booking until the payment was taken. So you just think about how many steps that in of itself just took off your plate, right?
Absolutely. Not having that, hey, here's my times that are available. Oh, those don't work for me. Here's like that volleyball of trying to just figure out a schedule. Like that alone could take hours.
Yeah, and forget it if they need to reschedule, right?
Yep.
And also too, there we have packages. So if you want to bundle these services together, so you can charge, more for, getting clients to work with you for a longer period of time, where they're committing to working with you for 6 months or a year, you can bundle those services into a package, and they would gain access to all of the services included in that package. And the system's automatically going to keep track of how many have been used and how many are remaining. So you don't have to sit there and go through, okay, Mary Smith came in 3 times, she's got 4 sessions left. Like, it's all done for you.
That's great.
Let's look at the forms, because those are fun. So when you come into the forms for the first time, you're going to see, it'll say just add forms in the middle of the screen, but there's this red button, and wherever you see this red button throughout the platform, it just means that it's going to bring up the main actions on that page. So it's called our fast action button. And in the forms, the bottom option says create from template. So we have templates available to you. So you can use any one of these templates exactly as they are, or you can modify them as much as you'd like, so that way you don't have to start from scratch. So I'm just going to click on this intake questionnaire to give you an idea as to what they could look like. But if you wanted, so on the right-hand side, you've got your question builders. So these are all the different types of questions you can ask. And you could just literally drag and drop a question to where you want to put it. So it's so super easy to build a form. And again, you're building it one time, and then you're using it, throughout the process of the client's journey. So you build it one time. The other thing you can do with forms is you can have signatures attached. So you want someone to sign a form. You can specify if it's your client, if you want to be the one to sign it yourself. So if it's more like an agreement and you're both signing, you can be the person to sign it as well. Right? My name's Wendy Smith, and then your signature is going to be added. Okay? And then, so you can create as many of these forms as you want. You can work from the templates. You can start from scratch.
I love that there's the templates for just I think I saw just like a general waiver. I feel like that's one of those things where people get in and they want to do everything by the book. But it can be tough to think like, okay, do I need to go pay an attorney another, $1,000 or $2,000 to have them write me a waiver? Like, I'm not really even seeing, like, does that make sense to see one client? So just having, and maybe, obviously I'm not an attorney, so I can't say whether that's accurate or not, but I have to imagine that when you're starting, you just need something basic that says, hey, this is what you can expect. This is the risk that you're taking. And let's just get something basic to agree on the table. And then if they want to see, the practice takes off, they want to have something more custom made, they can go, hire an attorney to do that later. Right.
Or at least it's a good starting point, right? Even if you are getting an attorney to look at it, maybe you're coming to the table with something and you're like, hey, how does this look? Like, what are the modifications I need to make from here, as opposed to, like you said, having the attorney start from scratch.
Love that.
And you can share your form. So if you're working on a form and you're like, hey, your colleague, you want to share a form with your colleague, you can share your forms as well. So that way, just because You spent an hour building a form. Now your colleague doesn't have to. So, you know, we want to make it easy for you to get started, because we realize all this stuff, time is money, and we want you to be able to get going with your clients as quickly as possible. So when you start, once you've added a form, all you have to do is click send to client. You can send it to 5 clients if you wanted, or 20 clients if you wanted, and either just click send, and this is just a manual way of sending the form. Or what we were talking about earlier is automations. So under my practice, automations, this is where you can start automating some of these workflows, right? So if you click on the red button again, as we said, that is our go-to button. We can do things like send forms after booking is confirmed. So if I say, this is my initial consult forms, right? Oh, I can't type when people are watching, sorry. And let's say, all right, this is going to be triggered by my initial consultation. It's going to go out immediately, and they're going to fill out the intake questionnaire, disclaimer, and goal setting worksheet, and create, and it's done. And you can do this for as many forms as you want, right? Again, if you have your follow-up forms, maybe your follow-up consultations, this is a 30-minute to 60-minute, maybe I want to send out this progress worksheet. But maybe you don't want to send it out right away. You want to send it out 2 days before the session or 3 days before the session. So they've had time to work on whatever it is you gave them to work on for the next week or 2, right? And then it's done, and your forms are set, and you don't have to worry about them. So the automations are really a big piece of, you know, making your practice more efficient. You can share documents with your clients. So there's so many different ways to share documents with clients or content with clients. And instead of having to send these things via email, where then your clients are digging through email threads trying to find information that you've shared with them. Sometimes they're just not opening the emails at all, so they're not actually following through with the recommendations that you've made for them. We allow you to do all this stuff in the platform. So things like sharing recommendations with clients, we call these protocols. So protocols, you can create templates. So as you start to niche and you start to work with the same sort of clients over and over again, you're going to see a lot of repetition in your practice. And instead of, you know, writing those recommendations from scratch, we have a place where you can create templates for them. So if we look at this getting started template, we break these down into food recommendations, supplement recommendations, and lifestyle recommendations. So you can say this is getting started. So everyone who comes for the initial consultation will get some sort of variation of this protocol, right? They're going to do it for 2 weeks. Here's an image of a healthy plate, you know, a balanced plate. I want them to eat more leafy greens. I can specify what kinds of leafy greens and give them an explanation. Because I don't know about you guys, but I used to have clients leave with a stack of papers, and they never read it, right? And if they don't read it, they don't get the results. And if they don't get the results, they don't come back, because it's a reflection of me, even though it's because they didn't follow through. So again, the idea is make it as easy as possible for your clients. Put everything in a one place that's nicely organized and very clear for them. So they're not saying, I don't remember why I'm eating leafy greens, so I'm not going to eat them. Or I don't remember why you said take this supplement if you're working with supplements, so I'm not going to take it, right? So you can break down the foods down to foods to include, foods to reduce, foods to exclude. We actually integrate with FullScript. So if you're not familiar with FullScript, it's an online dispensary for supplements. And so it's fantastic. We love it. So if you're in the States or Canada, definitely check them out. But we can add something, supplements directly from their catalog. So I can come in here and search all of FullScript's catalog to make a recommendation for my clients. So if I want to say CanPrev, this multi here, I can use the recommended recommendation, so the supplier's recommendations, and then I can tell my client, actually I want you to take 2 of these, once with breakfast and once with dinner. And you can remind them of why they're taking this, so maybe it's general health. Whoops. So again, the more information you can give your clients, the better. But remember, you're thinking, okay, this is a lot of information, but we don't want you to do things multiple times. So you do this one time, and then you save the recommendation. So you don't have to do it again. So you can save the whole protocol, so that way you can reuse the whole protocol and tweak it for clients, or you just save the individual recommendation, so that way you can build protocols from your saved recommendations. So I just want to show you what this looks like to a client.
I think that's so valuable. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've spoken with like one of my clients, and they're just like, if I have to explain the difference between a carb and a fat and a calorie, and like they just feel like broken records sometimes going over the same material. So just being able to have that load up and say, hey, I'm so glad you asked about that. I'm sending it to you right now, and be able to get that in their hands without having to just constantly be reiterating themselves.
Well, that's just it. We are sick. And because clients are coming to us with such oftentimes a very basic, and it's not a bad thing, but a very basic knowledge of health and nutrition, right? It's very different from what they would be hearing from a lot of their medical doctors, right? So we do have to start from the foundational pieces. And so there's going to be a lot of overlap. But again, streamlining, if you can say, here, I'm going to send you this right now, and you have it ready, you're saving yourself so much time. And then you can focus on actually, focusing on the things that are very unique to that client or patient, as opposed to wasting your time just talking about why they need to drink water. So here's an example of what a protocol actually looks like to your client. They can download it if they're a type of person who wants to print it out and stick it on their fridge or stick it in their purse. But all this is also available from a mobile app. So they see the food recommendations, what to eat, why, what not to eat, and why, lifestyle recommendations that you can include, supporting documents. So this happens to be a meal plan. So if you want to add a meal plan to your protocol, so you don't have to keep sending that document over and over again, you can go ahead and do that. Again, they can print this out if they wanted. And then supplements. So we talked about the supplements, and supplements are confusing for clients. So if you're working with supplements, you'll understand this. So we also generate automatically a table for your clients. So it's very clear to them how, when, why they're taking each supplement.
That makes it much easier to keep track of the different supplements. That's awesome. I like that.
Yeah. So there's a lot that we can jump into, but if we just look at, I just want to give you kind of an overview of what you can do with your clients, your individual clients, as you add them to the system. So every client has their own record, right? So you can either search them from this drop down or click on the little magnifying glass in the top right corner. And everything you're going to see in that client's file, everything you see on the left-hand side pertains to this client. So this is all about Mary Smith. So I can go in and see her bookings. Oh, she's got a video session coming up on May 30th. So if today we're May 30th, I can just click start session and it would take me right into that video session. I can go and see what's outstanding in terms of the payments or invoice her again. I can see her basic information. So basic information and medical history and diet and lifestyle information, if you collected this in a form, you can actually import all of this information here so you wouldn't have to rewrite it. So the idea of having these sections populated is so that way you don't have to go digging through those forms when you want to find some information on Mary Smith quickly, like why she's coming in or what medication she's on or that sort of thing. So you can pull this information in directly from a form that she filled out so you don't have to redo the work. Chart notes, you can do all of your charting here. So everything's in chronological order. So if you wanted to go through them, you could. You can also collapse things if you wanted, if you didn't want to see all of the notes. So when you want to add a new chart note, again, like the protocol templates, we want you to have a framework for your sessions as well if you want to use them. So you can create note templates. So you can have different templates for each one of your sessions. So that way you're just filling in the responses as opposed to retyping, the questions, or you don't have to worry about missing something in your session, right? So if we look at like initial consult chart here, any information you're going to see, oh, it says Mary Smith. That's because in my template, I put placeholders. So placeholders will actually pull in information from her chart if it's available, like her name, her date of birth, her sleep patterns, additional notes. If there was anything like, medical history, family history, you could pull all that stuff into the chart note, in the chart note yourself. So you're not having to, again, type that information out over and over again.
That's great.
So we have note templates that you can start with, create, or create them from scratch. And then again, each section in a note template can either be private or shared with the client. So you can share some of it. If you're using SOAP notes and you just want to share the P part, the plan part, you could share just that specific section with your clients and keep everything else private. This brings us back to forms. You can come in and see what your clients told you, what they filled out it. So click on annotate. So when you're looking at when your client Mary Smith is coming in for her session today or tomorrow or whatever it is you like to prepare for that session, you can go into her file and just go start working through like, hey, did she pay her bills, right? If it's automated, then you don't have to worry about that. Did she fill out her forms? You'll see if something's outstanding. So this one here is not started. Oh, okay, she's coming in shortly. Let's send her a little reminder, right? Or if she did complete it, you can click on annotate and go ahead and review the form and review what she told you. So that way you maybe have a good head start, or you can do this together with her, right? And as I mentioned, you can take notes here. So
that's great.
Yeah, so I mean, we could go on and on. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you can do. I don't want to overwhelm you with all this right now. But the idea is that you understand what you can automate, what you can streamline, because it really is like, you can. The idea is that, how do I say? You need to be able to go and find these clients, but you also need to know what to do with them once you have them, right? Because one without the other, it's always going to be that way. You can it's like I can streamline everything, but if I don't have the clients, like, this is why we need Grayson, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to help you find the clients, and how to talk to your clients. But then what do you do with them once you've sold them? What do you do with them once that they've committed to working with you? How do you manage that so you can keep going out and finding, the next ones, right? Or you can even just improve the experience for those clients that you are working with. If you're like, hey, I'm happy, this is, I'm in a happy place, then you can still just work on improving that client experience. So I'm just going to show you, Grayson, if you're okay with it, are you cool if we go into the client portal?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Actually, maybe before we head over there, I definitely want to take a look at that. But there was two more things that came up, or that come up a lot with my clients, and I think that's a huge help. If we could take a look at like the billing and the payments.
Yeah.
I think when people get started, well, actually, I shouldn't even say when people get started. I think everybody has at some point run into challenges of like, how do I ask for money? How do I make it easy for people to pay me? Because really nothing happens in the business until you get paid to do your work. So I think making that as easy and as frictionless as possible to make it easy for people to pay you is critical. So if we could take a look at that, and maybe if we could talk about like what platforms it integrates with. I know you integrate with Stripe, which is what I use, and I love it. So if there's anything else we should be looking at, that'd be great.
Yeah, so we integrate with Stripe and Square, so they're pretty comparable. I have more experience with Stripe. Square's great if you want to use a reader, which we don't yet integrate with, but we will in the near future. We'll integrate with the reader for the app. But yeah, so we integrate with Stripe and Square, comparable in terms of fees. The setup's the same. You're going to just go to this little gear in the top right corner and go to third-party integrations, and you're literally going to type in your credentials, and then it's linked. So it's really simple to do. We're in Mary Smith's file right now, so let's keep working with Mary Smith. So if I wanted to start or create a new invoice for her, let's say because she didn't go through an automated, she didn't have to pay at the time of booking, right? So if I want to manually invoice her, I click on this red button in the bottom right corner. I can either create an invoice from scratch where there's going to be no line items, no information in there, or I can actually start one from a booking. So if you've already scheduled her for an appointment or a package, I can actually invoice her from there. So if I want to invoice her for this May 30th follow-up consultation, the information for that consultation is already going to be here. So all I have to do is got a couple options. Is if she's in front of me and wants to process this payment right here, right now, I can click on process. Sorry, if you wanted to make a discount or something, you could do that too. If you want to give her a 10% discount because you're nice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, we can process the payment ourselves. Okay. So here, just kind of like if you're in a store, you would just, hey, Mary, like here's your invoice details, pay now, and either you ask her to put her credit card details in, or you ask her for her credit card details. Cash and check, if you send her an invoice, will not, or bank transfer, like these options are not going to be there for her. It's only because this is in your view. So if you wanted her to give you cash, you could do that. And you're going to put her credit card details in and submit. I'm just going to say cash because, again, I don't want to charge myself. And just like that, the payment's confirmed and the invoice has been sent to her, or the receipt has been sent to her.
Perfect. So in that case, if we had our consult or our initial consult over the phone, and she's like, "Yep, I want to get signed up for a program or a package," and we got the credit card details, we could just plug it in, bill her, and then get her into whatever program that she'd signed up for.
Yeah. What I would do in that instance, that's a little bit of like a Practice Better hack, is what I would call it. I would set up your package or your program with the installment payments. If there are installment payments that you want to do, I would set that up in the actual service itself. So if we go to my services, let's say I want to sell this Healthy Me program to her.
Yep.
I'd actually click on the three dots and say share a link. And I'm going to go through the process like I were the client. So you can still be on the phone with her, and you can say, all right, let's say there's a service, whether you want to book it now with her or not, you can say book now, or you can just say book later, and then just go through, okay, so I'm on the phone with Mary Smith. Great, Mary. Awesome. Oops, wrong button. The disclaimer part wouldn't be applicable. It's a bad example because of that. But then I would say, okay, Mary, do you want to pay in full, or do you want to pay in the 3 installments? So I'll take $1,500 right now, and then you'll have 2 installments remaining, right? So she can choose, and you would just take her credit card information and put it in for her. And then this would, if she chose the second option where she's paying in installments, it would trigger those installments, so you wouldn't have to set it up again.
That's great. Not having to remember to go back in there, keep track of everybody's billing. That's a huge time saver.
So otherwise, you could do it from invoices, but then you would have to set up those installments that you've already set up a second time. So if we go back to Mary Smith, the other option is you can actually send her an invoice. So if you're in bookings and packages, let's actually go back to billing and send her an invoice for a package here. I can literally just click send, and she's going to get the email with the $900 balance, and she'll put her credit card details in and pay directly there, and then she'll get the receipt automatically.
So lots of flexibility there.
There's a lot of different ways you can take payment. Also, we have the option if any of your community members are still doing insurance, you could also use the insurance option. So we have super bills and CMS 1500 forms available. So if you did want to do a super bill for this follow-up consultation, you'd go to the booking itself, click on the 3 dots next to it, and just say create super bill. You'd fill in the information required. Some of it will be pulled in from the client's file. And then you would just say, let's just say save and preview. And your client would receive something like this. So it can be done in just seconds. So billing doesn't have to be such a headache, like insurance billing doesn't have to be such a headache anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great. One more thing I'd love to take a look at is I know we're going to look at the customer or like from the customer side. How do we set up like programs or packages? Is there a way that we can, let's say we had an 8-week program and we wanted to be able to drip out content or materials to our clients over that time? Is that doable?
Yeah, absolutely. So under my practice, you're going to go to my programs. And so here you've got 2 options. You can set up your programs either as a fixed date program where think about your fixed date programs as like you're going to be launching it, right? Everyone's going to go through it together. It starts on May 30th and ends on, I don't know, right? July 15th.
Yep.
Right? So everyone's going through it together. In the Plus line, we have evergreen programs so that people can go through them individually. They can, so long as they have a link to register, they can go through it. And instead of content being delivered like in the fixed date program, where maybe module 1 is delivered on May 1st at 9 a.m., module 2 is delivered on May 4th at 2 p.m., right? Instead of on calendar dates at specific times, the content in an evergreen program is delivered based on time lapsed. So module 1 might be delivered 5 minutes after you enroll. Module 2 might be delivered 6 days after you enroll. And so goes the intervals. So people can be enrolling in programs like evergreen programs at any time throughout the year. It doesn't require, to be running through it as a group. They're doing it solo. So to set these up, you just click on the red button in the bottom right-hand corner and you choose what program you want to build. We're going to look at managing this real food reset program. So under edit first, you give a title, give a description, kind of like if you were setting up a service or a package, your start date, start time, end date. You can max how many people can enroll into the program, or you can have an unlimited number. You can set up payment options. So if you want them to pay at the time of registration, like we did with a service or with a package, they have those same options here. So you can say require to pay at booking, and then they would have to pay the $1,000 up front, or you could break it up into installments. And they can send them a nice little welcome email when they register. Hey, welcome to my program. During this 6 weeks, we're going to be learning about XYZ, right? To kind of get them excited about the program. And then the modules themselves are pretty easy to set up. So again, that red button to add a module. So if we look at week 1, for example, you can break them down into different weeks if you wanted to. You can decide when the content's being delivered. Again, this is a fixed date program, so it's based on calendar days. Right? If I want this one to go out on the 18th at 9 a.m., I can send them a welcome email. So they're going to get an email welcoming them to module 1 or whatever you want to call it. Let them know maybe what you're focusing on this week. Again, getting them excited. And then the content itself, you can play around with the formatting. You can add images, you can embed video, you can add images right to the content, or you can actually attach images or attach audio files, video files, as opposed to embedding them, attach meal plans. So it's really easy to build this out. And then the other really cool thing is with programs is, again, we want our clients to stay on track, right? So putting them through a program is not enough. You want to give them some incentives. You want to give them things to do so that way you can track how they're going, right? So you can assign tasks and forms or worksheets to each different module. So maybe in module 1, you want them to plan their meals for the week, or you want them to fill out this goal setting worksheet, or whatever the case might be. You can give them tasks so they can check them off and say they're completed. So you can go in and see how they're doing, if they're falling behind or if they're staying on track, which is also especially helpful if you want to work with these clients one-on-one. Maybe you're offering one-on-one support. You have some sort of program that's affordable and low entry point, but then you're selling one-on-one sessions on top of that. right? It helps you coach them better. It helps you work with them and help them reach those goals a bit better when you can see how they're moving along in the program.
Yeah, that's great. So it's a great way to be able to track their progress and see if people are getting stuck, or if there's places more maybe we need to elaborate, add in more content, that sort of thing. That's
exactly
great.
I'll show you what it looks like on the client side when we go there. And then also too, some of, we love what we do. We love continuing to evolve. We love being able to continue to work on the platform and evolve, practice better. And we get a lot of really awesome feedback from our users, which we take very seriously, and we implement a lot of the feedback we get. So actually right now there's a chat in the platform, but it's one-on-one. So you can go ahead and chat with individual clients, and so you don't have to have those conversations, in chat message, like social media chat messengers, or in text or phone tag or emails, right? So everything can be done here. But in the next few weeks, we're actually launching a group chat functionality as well, and a bit more of a forum. So that way you can either be interacting with all of your clients or subsets of your clients. So you can have maybe everyone that's going through the Real Food Reset have a specific chat, and people going through program B have their own specific chat, just to kind of help create more of like a community environment without having to do those things offline. Because a lot of these chats and conversations are happening in things like Facebook, and I know we got a lot of practitioners who say we're not comfortable using those. So we're actually launching this in the next few weeks. That's
great. Yeah, having that option to communicate. And I assume the client is able to log into their app and have all those communications stored there.
Exactly.
Which probably makes it so much easier than trying to go to Facebook to get information, email, like trying to pull from multiple sources.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, yeah, the client doesn't have to go to so many places. And like I said in the beginning, we need to think about the client experience, right? That's such a big piece. All right. Was there anything else you want to check out on this side?
I think that was the gist of it. We talked about the scheduling, the programs, accepting payments. I think those are always hot buttons that seem to be coming up with my clients and people in the industry. So I'm glad we were able to take a look at those. So yeah, whatever else you got or anything that you're excited to show off, I would love to see it.
Yeah. There's so much we could go into, to be honest with you. We just recently added tags, which is really cool. I won't get into all the nitty gritty, but you can now tag your different groups, which is going to go hand in hand with this group functionality that we're adding, which is also included with the group chat. So these tags can automatically be added as part of the automations as well. So if someone signs up for a certain service or package or program, you can add a certain tag. So yeah, really stoked about all this stuff. All right. I hope you guys aren't being like, why did you just talk about tags? But
I use tags all the time. So
I know, same here. Same. But once you guys start, if you decide to play around with the platform and you start using tags, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, yes, this makes a lot of sense, especially once the group stuff comes out. So what we're looking at right now is the client portal. Okay, so this is where your clients are logging in. Keep in mind everything that we saw both on the practitioner side and the client side, everything's available from the mobile app. Okay, so we've got a mobile app for Android devices and iOS. Apple. So everything's accessible on the mobile device, including their programs. So this person, Mary Smith, happens to be enrolled in this Real Food Reset program. So it's at the top of her page. She can come in, click on it, and she's going to see an overview of what's included in this program. So she's got, I made it week 1, week 2, week 3, but she will see the different modules on the left-hand side, if they're locked or unlocked, and she can see the descriptions for each module as well. So this is week 1, which we looked at briefly on the practitioner side when we were setting it up, or showing you how to set it up. So, okay, they're reading through. Again, we added a meal plan. So this is their PDF meal plan that was just attached, so they can literally just scroll through it, download and print it if they wanted to. And then their tasks that we assign to them for this module are at the bottom of that. So they can mark them as completed, so you can see that on the progress side. And if they're worksheets, they can complete those worksheets as well.
I love that one screen back where you could see the different modules and see which ones are locked. I think that does a lot for retention, because when people can see, there's a lot of material waiting for me.
Yeah.
I think it's natural that maybe sometimes we start something and then we'll hit a little rocky spot and people start questioning like, is this for me? But knowing like there's more things to come that are going to address these. And so just knowing, hey, there's more resources coming. I just need to stick with this. I think that's a lot to help that person realize like, okay, I am in the right place. I just need to give it some more time. And being able to see that there's more to come is a great way to do that.
Absolutely. I agree. I absolutely agree. Because we were thinking, how does what I'm working on right now, how does that contribute to the big picture? And then when they can see that you see the same big picture, Yeah, that's really, really helpful for them. It helps gives them another sense of trust. They can trust you that you know what you're talking about.
Yep.
Protocols, if they have protocols that have the most recent protocol that's been published for them, it's going to be up here. So again, this looks exactly the same as what we saw in the practitioner side, recommendations, supplements, supplement chart. If you're using FullScript, they can go right into ordering the FullScript supplements by clicking supplements here. They also would have received an email from FullScript directly to order their supplements. So the really great thing that I didn't mention when we talked about using supplements from the FullScript catalog is that you don't then have to go and duplicate that work into FullScript. It's done one time, and when you publish your protocol, Practice Better generates the FullScript side of things. So you could log into FullScript and see all the same exact supplement recommendations there. So you don't even have to, you can still log into FullScript, but you don't have to. And you can also pull in templates that you use in FullScript into Practice Better. If you don't use supplements, you just don't even make any supplement recommendations. The whole section is going to be omitted from the protocols. Or if you use your own supplements, you can actually add those to the database as well. So you don't have to use FullScript. Not supplements, but forms that are waiting to be completed. They'll just see them here. These forms they can actually fill out right from their inbox. So sometimes you want clients to fill out forms before you decide you want to give them access to the platform, right? Especially if you're doing like a free discovery call. Maybe you say, I'm going to only give paying clients access to the platform. So you can still get clients to fill out forms, pay invoices, complete to-do like tasks, and a couple other things without actually gaining access to the platform. They can do these things from their inboxes. So that's helpful. We really want to, again, make the experience for the clients as positive as possible. And we want to equip them with all the tools that they need to be successful. So the majority of those tools is just giving you the ability to easily share these things in an organized fashion. But we also have accountability tools like food and mood journals and lifestyle journals. So if we look at this food and mood journal, let's go to a day that has some content in it. Okay, so they can tell you, like, they can search a database and they can say add a banana. So they can either search common foods or branded foods if there's anything branded about bananas. Let's just say one banana, medium-sized banana, and great. So now your client can get all the macronutrient breakdown or details about this banana, as well as the matcha latte that they had. You can comment on those journal entries. So if you want to say, is this all you had for breakfast? And you can say, actually, I also had a piece of, I also had a handful of almonds or something like that. But you can keep your clients further accountable by giving them, comments or leaving for them comments or asking them questions on their journal entries. Or you don't have to. If you see, like here for lunch, if you don't initiate the comments, they don't have an option to comment. So if you want to keep that for a specific tier of clients, the clients who are paying extra to get that, direct and personal feedback, you can absolutely do that. They're not going to know anything's missing. They can use, they can use a nutritional database to tell you what they ate. They can just type out what they ate in their own words. So they can say, add a free form entry. So I can say, 1 apple and 2 tablespoons of almond butter, right? So if they don't want to track their net macronutrients, they don't have to. If they want to, they can still try to pull some of that information out from the Get Nutrients option.
That's pretty nifty.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Of course, the most accurate one is going to be like searching 1 apple and searching the almond butter separately. And then they can also upload an image, or if they're on their phone, they can just take a photo of whatever they're eating and share it with their practitioner before sharing it to Instagram. Or on the app itself, they can also use the barcode scanner, so they don't have to search the database. By typing it in, they can search the database with the barcode. And then they can tell you how they felt before they ate, how they felt after they ate, where they ate. So that information, regardless of what you choose to do with it, whether you just want to leave it there and maybe you review it as needed when a client comes in and says, oh, I've been really feeling crummy lately, and then you say, okay, let's pull up your food and mood journal and take a look at it together. Or if you're looking at it on a regular basis, it really helps the client, regardless, start making the connections between what they're doing or what they're eating and how they're feeling, right? So it allows them to start making some of those connections even before you start giving them that feedback.
That's great.
Yeah. So, otherwise in the platform, on the client side, they really have access to what they need. We try not to overwhelm them. If you don't have any programs going, they're not going to see the programs tab. If you don't have any session notes, they're not going to see session notes. If you did share session notes with them, they could come in and see the sections that you did share. Not very extensive plan here, but If you didn't have protocols, they wouldn't see this tab. So a lot of this stuff really that shows up really depends on what it is you're doing with your clients and what you're sharing with them. But we make it pretty straightforward for them, so they only come in and see what they need to see. And then they can just launch, video sessions here. So if they have a video session with you, it's going to sit here and tell them that they're waiting for you to initiate the call. And after about 10 seconds, they're going to have the opportunity to ping you if you haven't started the call yet. So they can let you know that they're sitting there waiting. So you don't have to sit there and wait for them to come or to join the call.
That's cool.
Yeah. I think overall, in a nutshell, that's most of the platform. Again, there's definitely more intricacies that you can get into. There's other things you can do as you start to use the system a little bit more. But I think that's a pretty good overview of some of the stuff that you can do and how you might be able to streamline some of your work, so that way you can get more efficient and also help support your clients a bit more with that efficiency.
Yeah, this has been awesome, Natalie. I really appreciate you getting on here and showing us all this. My clients have been raving about your platform, and so it was definitely on my to-do list to get you on here to be able to see like what they're seeing and understand some of the benefits they've been getting from being able to use these tools. I know we talked a little bit, like how can we, what bonuses can we give to somebody if they want to try this out, or if they're interested in, getting signed up in Practice Better? Is there anything that we can do for them?
Yeah, I love the work that you're doing, Grayson. I think this community of health and wellness professionals, dietitians, we really need people like you to help us with the business side of things. So we also want to support what you're doing. So Grayson and I discussed this, and we're going to actually give everyone a free month to try out our paid plans. So we're going to use the promo code Carter in all caps. So you can go in and play around with it yourself and kind of get a feel for, does this work for your workflow, and take a look at it on the client side as well and get a feel for how it might help your clients. So that way you don't have to make any sort of investment. You can go ahead and play around with it and see if it works for you and if it'll save you some time.
I really appreciate that, Natalie. So if they get signed up using promo code Carter, just my last name in all caps, they'll get a month free. Yeah. I wanted to add something as an additional bonus to sweeten the deal, just because I'm so convinced that this will be a game changer for so many people. Taking a little bit of what I do is helping teach practitioners how to integrate their marketing with their practice, so they can have a real clear understanding of like what's actually generating clients. So as a bonus for anybody that gets signed up with that promo code, I'm going to give them my conversion tracking mini class. And basically I'll go in, I'll show you how we use Practice Better. This is exactly what I do with my clients, how we use Practice Better to be able to track what is actually generating the clients coming in. So we'll be able to see if we're running Facebook ads or Google AdWords or any other sort of like paid advertising, what is actually generating calls into our calendar. And so that gives us, it's sort of like flying an airplane. If we have no instruments and no data, it's going to be pretty tough to make sure that we don't hit the ground or run into something. But with the rights, but once we get this set up, and it gives us a real clear understanding of, okay, which ads, which platforms, where are we spending money, and what's actually generating those calls onto the calendar. So I'm going to add that as a bonus for anybody that gets signed up using promo code Carter, and we'll show you how to get all that integrated with your marketing using Practice Better and how you can start benefiting from it.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, that sounds awesome. I'm so excited.
All right. Well, Natalie, I really appreciate being here today. Anything else you want to leave us with, or anything you're excited that we should be keeping an eye out for? I don't want to ask you to reveal any surprises that you have coming up, but if you have anything, would be totally open to hearing that.
Yeah, we've got lots of really awesome stuff coming up. So right now our team is working really hard on group stuff. So that group chat we talked about, even more flexibility in terms of how you can run groups in Practice Better within programs, outside of programs. We're working on a Zoom integration, so you'll be able to link those Zoom accounts straight to your Practice Better account, or get a HIPAA compliant account through Zoom at like a really crazy discounted rate. Mm-hmm. We're working on teams because we want to support our practitioners throughout their journeys of building their practices. And what we're really excited, we've been seeing a lot of practitioners starting with Practice Better on smaller plans and growing, and now growing teams. So we're launching team plans a little bit later this summer. So you can actually collaborate together, run programs together, if you have a small clinic or whatnot, you'll be able to manage all of that in one place with so those are the two huge things that are coming. But if anyone on here already uses Practice Better, that we are always adding in new features. Most weeks there are small little features that we're sneaking in here and there, just because you guys are really awesome with your feedback. And we love that feedback. So if you guys use the platform, whether it's telling us that, hey, we love it, or hey, I hate it, give us that feedback. It's invaluable. So yeah, just drop us a line, send us an email to help@practicebetter.io. Let us know what you're liking, what you'd love to see in the platform. We are always thankful for all the feedback we can get.
That's great. I've been super impressed with the responsive support as well, because there was a few times I emailed just asking questions about general stuff, and I always got a response back very quickly. So I appreciate you guys being so on it, and you really are doing great things for the industry.
Awesome.
So everybody that's watching this, go get signed up and get a free month using promo code Carter. Nathalie, I really appreciate you being here today. This is super helpful, and I can't wait to see more people using this and getting the benefits from it.
Absolutely. Anytime you want.
All right. Well, thanks so much again. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.